Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Senor.
You are a sight to behold. I have been looking forward to this because it is a time of remembering, rejoicing, and renewing for Molians everywhere. And I offer this talk to the Blessed Trinity, to whom we offer glory and praise forever, of which every Molian has been schooled into the life of the Diyos na siyang tatlo. But I also ask the intercession of the Carmelite saints, in particular Teresa of Avila, John of the Cross, and Therese of the Child Jesus. And the names are endless, knowing the Carmelites. They have the most number of doctors of the church. And of course, the Blessed Founder, Blessed Maria Eugene, whose inspiration, Mother of Life, has been instituted 50 years ago and was so inspired by Mother of Life, disturbed by that our people are sacramentalized but not evangelized. So he started a catechetical center and plucked a German youth to be the first directress formator. So I offer this also on behalf of Miss Matilde. When I entered, two ladies stand out, and one of them, of course, is the first directress formator of the Institute, Mother of Life, Miss Matilde, and who has taught me more than what being a catechist is all about. Whenever I come here, I undergo formation. And one significant formation that she taught me was that bits and pieces. She teaches me how to become a catechist by first being a man of prayer. And in one occasion in which I would talk things out with her, because whenever she finds out I'm here, she would walk from that building over there, the NDB, and then go to Mother of Life, and we would have some chat together. And on one occasion, I could not forget, she asked me, "Father, how many questions did Jesus ask in the New Testament?" So I answered her, "I do not know." You know, Miss Beckers? And then she said, "I think you should read the Bible again."
Yeah.
The problem with you, Father, is this. You do not know how to speak French and German. I said, "I will try." And I could not forget that when I was walking here, Miss Vicky Reyes told me, "Remember, you were the last one to hear her confession before she died. She specifically asked for you. So I immediately went to the University of Santo Tomas Hospital and I heard her confession. Of course, I will not tell you what she told me. But immediately I would incur excommunication. But when after hearing her confession, I went out the door and Miss Vicky Reyes told me, "Remember what you told me?" I said, "No, I forgot." And Miss Vicky Reyes said, you told me she is ready. Let her go. A few hours later, she entered greater life. And I feel her presence here.
Yes. Yes.
With you, right? The second, and that's why I'm I'm quite deeply emotional because those memories come surging in. But the second lady is, of course, the responsable in the Philippines for more than 30 years, Marie Louise. And of course, the NDBs would often tell me about the Franco-Prussian War that happens here, which ends up really not as a Franco-Prussian War, but really an exchange of pleasantries between two grand old ladies. Amen?
Yes.
But during her funeral, of which I attended in Bulacan, in Encanto, I do not know why they named it Encanto, because the ladies there are encantadas. Led by Miss Josie De Horas.
Gumagalaw ako.
Yung iba lumilipad na nga eh. Naghahati ang katawan sa gabi. Patay ako pagkatapos nito. But during the funeral of ML, they call her ML, right? The people, the liturgists prepared a beautiful missalette, and the missalette has been in my car since then. And this I read from the excerpt from the writing of the Blessed Founder, Father Maria Eugene. On the front cover are the words of the Founder. And I quote, "After having raised the child Jesus, the Blessed Mother disappeared. She consented to disappear. In the obscurity of silence and solitude, there she was in her place. There she was fully mother." End of quote. I like that quotation precisely because that is what a Molian is. A Molian never grandstands. Your principle which you were taught was do good and disappear. Amen?
Yes.
And you always deliver excellence. Amen?
Yes.
And no nonsense. Even in front of bishops. Right? In other words, even the bishops listen to you precisely because you are men and women who have a great love for the church. And that is what I have seen with all the Molians, past and present, especially those now that we are teaching here, the little group, I call them. I call them the Anawin. Anawin kasi 17 lang yata. Isa lumisang pa sa greater life. And one thing for sure is that I experience greater fascination that there has been a steady and constant formation of honing in that this is a place in which you form the church through men and women schooled in catechesis. Once a catechist, always a catechist. So, pasahin ko muna kayo. Joke lang, ha? Before marriage, boy, sa wakas, di na ako makapaghihintay. Girl, gusto mo ba akong umalis? Boy, nabibiro ka ba? Girl, kaya mo ba akong halikan? Boy, kung may pagkakataon. Girl, sasaktan mo ba ako? Boy, hindi. Girl, mapagkakatiwalaan ba kita? Boy, oo naman. Girl, ipagpapalit mo ba ako sa iba? Boy, of course not. Girl, mahal mo ba ako? Boy, yes. Girl, darling. After marriage, basahin pabalik. Girl, darling. Boy, yes. Girl, mahal mo ba ako? Boy, of course not. Girl, ipagpapalit mo ba ako sa iba? Boy, oo naman. Girl, mapagkakatiwalaan ba kita? Boy, hindi. Girl, sasaktan mo ba ako? Boy, kung may pagkakataon. Girl, kaya mo ba akong halikan? Boy, nagbibiro ka ba? Girl, gusto mo ba akong umalis? Boy, sa wakas, di na ako makapaghihintay. End of story. Gusto niyo pa? Dasal ng mga kababaihan. Lalo-lalo na ang mga katulad ni Miss Offing Javier at ni Miss Nanette Angeles. Dasal mga kababaihan, 20 years old, Lord, I'm looking for my ideal man. 25 years old, Lord, I'm looking for the best man. 30 years old, Lord, I'm looking for a good man. 35 years old, Lord, I'm looking for any man. 40 years old, Lord, please naman. 50 years old, Jan, wala na akong kinalaman. End of story. Sayahin ko kayo, masaya dapat, jubilee eh. Thou shall not steal. You heard of that? What commandment? 7. Which commandment is it connected?
Everything.
Bagsak kayo lahat. Ano ka, 9 or 10? Sino may sabing 9? Okay, please go for refresher course. 10. 6 connected sa 9. 7 connected sa 10.
Building justice.
Oh, yun. Wait a minute, may sumigaw na. Yung justice yun. Nakita mo na. Talaga tama yun. 6, 9.
7, 10.
7, 10. Tama?
Yes.
Okay. Christian morality. American. Here in the US, stealing is a crime and against the law. Therefore, you will be jailed. In England, foreigners who are caught stealing are deported. In Saudi Arabia, once you steal, your fingers or hand will be cut off. In Japan, stealing is a dishonor and disgrace to the family. That's why we would rather make harakiri. For the Chinese, if caught stealing, you face the firing squad. In the Philippines, stealing for us is for official use only. Right or wrong? Sakit naman.
Maka-right.
Yung stealing kayo, may mga French dito. Kakahiya. Translated, na-translate na pala eh. Na-translated father. Okay, punctuation is powerful. This is for the Molian. An English professor wrote these words: a woman without her man is nothing, on the whiteboard, and asked his students to punctuate them correctly. So all the males in the class wrote, a woman, comma, without her man, comma, is nothing. But all the ladies in the class wrote, a woman, colon, without her, comma, man is nothing. ba yan? Siyempre, gusto ko umuwi ng buhay. Let me begin my talk. I have been requested by Dr. Karim to speak about catechetical challenges of the youth of today. I would presume that by this time, well, later, Father Makasait, who is a youth minister, would have done his job to present to you the situationer of the youth. So that was not my part of my talk. But thanks be to God, he would be sending his talk and he would give you a very good analysis of the youth of today. In the global scene, before I present this, our young people are called millennials. The youth of today, and they have a different form of thinking, experiencing, that they are pinned between two global views, namely secularism on the one hand, or post-truth and post-modernity in philosophy. And on the other hand, there is what we call religious fundamentalism that breeds religious radicalism. You can read this, you can Google it in fact, but that is where our millennials are. But deep inside, the positive thing about millennials is that our young people still seek authenticity. Our young people challenge us, catechists, to be the best version that God intends us to be. Take note, the best version. To exemplify for us what it means to be Christian. And rightly so, Blessed Paul VI said it well, and you know it so well, modern man listens to witnesses. They hardly listen to teachers. And if ever they listen to teachers, it is because they are witnesses themselves. The power, therefore, of witness is, from the point of view of John Paul II and now Pope Francis in Evangelii Gaudium, is still the most potent and powerful method of evangelizing, of sharing the faith. Live what you profess. Live what we experience, which is God. Young people today in our country call us to greater commitment. Let me outline for you the experience here in NCR. There is what we call a phenomenon of the feast. The feast in which young people, especially the single professionals, go to places like malls as well as PICC every Sunday and listen to teachings of a group known as Kerigma, and they celebrate Mass. And they have been captured by how we celebrate Mass. Cardinal Chito, I don't know if he's heard this yesterday, even said to us, the priests of Manila, what are they doing that we are not doing in parishes? Why do these young people still have to trek the long EDSA in order just to go to PICC? There must be something there that is attracting young people. Why can't we do the same in parishes? And that's a challenge for me as parish priest, that I need to attract more young people, but new methods, new expressions towards new fervor means that I witness to the values of the gospel myself, that they see in me what they want to see in the church. That's a challenge. In other words, I must always be checking myself. Checking myself. Simpleng checking lang ha. Paggising mo sa umaga, ito ang experience ko bilang kura. Desisyon ko, I have been in my parish for 3 years now. Desisyon kong gumising ng 4 o'clock. Bakit? Sapagkat by 5 o'clock, nasa baba na ako at naka-expose na ang Blessed Sacrament at doon ako nagdadasal. Why? Because my spiritual father told me, your people, Jerry, have a right to see you pray. In other words, it strengthens them to see that their parish priest is praying as they enter the church. That the first act of the parish priest is not to talk. It is to pray on bended knees. That is the starting point of the day. Number 2 is that they see a smile on my face. Tama na ang mga, as Pope Francis said, be careful with priests and religious who do not smile. They bite. Tama mali? Sasabihin mo, good morning po, Father. Father, nanana ko. Ano yung joy of the gospel doon? Alam mo, desisyon ko talaga tumingin sa salamin at ngumiti. Kasi, hindi ba may pagkasuplado ang mukha ko, ano?
Oh, yes, yes.
Sakit naman, naglululas ka. Ang malakas ng mga lolang ito, yes. Yan. Kajen yan, ni Miss Frida. Yan. Mga kajen. Pagkasuplado ako.
Ito pa.
Ay, umalis. Parishioner ko. Lagi nakangiti ako dito. Desisyon ko talaga. Kasi yung contours ng aking mukha ay talaga may pagkasuplado. Hindi katulad ni Cardinal Chico. Smiling eh. Tama? Si Cardinal Sin. Okay? No? Si Bishop Sok. Bishop Sok, kahit naglalakad lang yan, talagang sabihin mo, nakikisip ko si Bishop po, nakaka-attract yun. Ako ganun eh. Nagtuturo ako sa 4 na seminaryo. Nagtuturo ako sa Divine Word Seminary sa Tagaytay, sa San Carlos Seminary, Mary Help of Christians sa Sampabian, Pangasinan. Inibita ako ni Bishop Sok na magturo doon. Nagtuturo din ako sa Immaculate Conception Major Seminary sa Giginto, Bulacan. 4 na seminaryo yon. Nakapagturo pa ako sa UST, sa College of Education. Dito, basta ang ating principle, ang unang araw, huwag kang ngingiti.
Ha?
Yan. Kinakailangan unang araw pa lang seryoso ka. That is good pedagogy. Tama? O, umuo naman itong grupong to. Tama? Kasi makikita ka ng gano'n, para kang you're trying to make friends with everybody. No! Classroom management.
Yes.
Tama ba ako?
Yes.
Lumalakas na itong grupo na ito. Ano malakas ito? Nag-aapoy ito. Yun, ang nakangiti sila, hindi ako mingiti. Papasok lang ako. Ako'y third order Dominican. I'm a member of the priestly fraternity of St. Dominic. The Master General was the one who vested me with the Dominican habit. Pero ang puso ko'y Carmelite. Baka kasi hindi na ako imbitahin magturo dito. Sabi ko si Dr. Karing, ba't di ka nag-NDB? Alam mo, ang NDB, pinaka-core ng pagkatao ko.
Yeah.
Kaya hindi ba hidden kayo? Di hidden din yun. Di ba ganun naman?
Lusot.
Di ba? Lusot talaga. Ano yung sagot ng mga mother of life? Lusot. Kasi kayo rin, mahilig magpalusot. Basta pwedeng isingit na gano'n, sisingit yun. Bahagi na ng formation. Bahagi ng formation. Nagkaka-discoveran tayo dito. Ito ang grupong palusot. Baguhin yung pangalan nyo. Ayun, sabi ko, good pedagogy, you should be always strict. And then later, after the second month, slowly smile. Di ba friendship na yan? You know, classroom management. Ano bang seryoso, French? Gano'n. And then by December, pag malapit-lapit na Pasko, makipagkaibigan ka na kasi regalo pin. Yan ang pedagogy ko. Alam niyo na mga Molians. Yes, ginagawa nyo na yun eh. Style nyo na yun eh. Siyempre, alam naman maghigpit ka pag December. Duling na chiclet lang ang tatanggapin mo. Ito mo yung mga tagapako dito. Ganyan ang style ng mga yan. Nasaan na ba ako? That is why it is good whenever I would teach, you disconnect first. You distance yourself from students. No favorites. Number one. Number two, never ask and never give them your Facebook account or your cell phone number.
Yes.
Number three, do not meet with your students outside the school.
Yes.
Tama?
Yes.
Distance. Why? You must be the teacher as well as companion. Later, they become your friends. And you become the most memorable teacher they ever had.
Yes.
Tama?
Yes.
And so your favorite teacher, Molian, those who have experienced her teaching is Miss Beckers. Tama?
Yes.
Father Roach.
Yes.
Father Roach, natuturo, nakapikit pa yon. Nakita ko, nakalakad ako sa mga higanting yan. Nung ako'y nasa Etche, nakasama ko Miss Beckers, Father Father, sino yung sa CCD? Father Banayad, Sister Angelina Lim. Siya sa CCD, siya si Angelina Lim ng Lumen Christi. Nagkasama-sama kami. Nag-away-away silang tatlo. Away-away kasi pagalingan sila. Lalo na si Miss Beckers at saka si Father Banayad. Nag-exchange yan. Sabi ko, Miss Beckers, Father Banayad is dying. He has cancer. Please pray for him. Kasi nalaman ko na may cancer. Sagot ni Miss Beckers, he's been dying for the past year. Pero mag-friends yun, ha? Mag-friends yun. Pero talagang, si Father Roach naman, nung nire-revise namin ng NCDP, karap ko si Father Roach, Father Degs, Father Putso.
Ay, Father Putso.
Ito, ilalabas ko na. Tingnan ko, baka akala ko si Father Roach yun. Father Kroger sila. Father Kroger, you look like Father Roach. Let us warmly welcome Father Kroger, great man of the church. Yes or no?
Yes.
Say, welcome, Father. We love you, Father. Sige, tuloy na ako. Happy anniversary, Father. Happy anniversary. Mahal na mahal din niya ang Mother of Life, right?
Yes.
Kaya pina-air ko ng Mother of Life ang classroom. Di ba? Sarap, no? After 50 years, naka-aircon din. Gusto? Talagang nakatutok sa akin yung dalawang ventilador na hindi pa aircon yun. Talagang sabi ko, mamamatay ako rito sa ventilador. Pero alam mo, nakakatuwa ito ah. Walang bagong building eh. We are still in the wilderness. In the meeting tent of the Old Testament. Ang ganda ng symbol eh. It's a beautiful symbol. We are still on the road. Tama? But,
Kailangan may building na. Fruit of the 50.
kailangan, sumigaw naman dito, kailangan may building na. That will come. But you know, when I was coming in, it's a beautiful symbolism of the church.
Yes.
In pilgrimage. Skenosen. Skenosen. That's Greek. What does that mean? And he dwelt among us. at nakipamayan sa atin. And it becomes the architecture of pilgrims, the architecture of solid cement. Why? Because we are always on the road, on the way. Amen?
Amen.
The journey of Mother of Life is from 50 to 60. Tama? Diamond naman, ha?
Yes.
Wala mo nang magpapaalam. Categorical challenges. For our purposes, allow me to simplify the challenge. There are 3 concentric circles that I'd like to share with you. 3 concentric circles that would form challenges. The first concentric circle is Christ. The second concentric circle is the church. And the third concentric circle is country. 3 C's. I'd like to be as simple as possible that you can talk about this and reflect on it. And challenge yourself to look into the design of learning and teaching, as well as your own way of handling the young people. First, let me talk about Christ. That Christ be formed. Yes, that Christ be formed. In the words of St. Paul, to form men and women of character. To be Christ-like is to be men and women of character. Let me talk about character later on. Second, church, sentire cum ecclesia. To think with the church. To have a great love for the church. To be men and women of communio in missio. Communio in missio. Take note, that is the fundamental ecclesiological model of Vatican II. Remember, 20 years after Vatican II, John Paul II convened a synod to once again study Vatican II. And John Paul II was able to synthesize chapters 1 and chapter 2 of Lumen Gentium. Chapter 1, which is the mystery of the church, and chapter 2, which is people of God. Tama? Alam niyo yun?
Yes.
What came out? Communio in mission. Communion in mission. And that was further cemented later on in Ecclesia in Asia by John Paul when he convened a synod of bishops for Asia. Men and women of the church. And here for Notre Dame de Vie and for Mother of Life, that we become truly sons and daughters of the church. Number 3, third concentric circle is country. Country. The passion for country, passion for our people, especially the poorest of the poor, the vulnerable among us. I like that word, vulnerable. To talk about the vulnerability of our people. Passion. 3 concentric circles, once again. First concentric,
Christ.
second,
Church.
third,
Country.
therefore forming men of character, church, and conscience. To have passion for country, we need to form a social conscience. A social conscience. And I'd like to emphasize the word social conscience because you are catechists. Whether you are in the field or whether you are working elsewhere, or OFWs, or from other countries. Let me begin. First circle, Jesus of Nazareth. Let me begin with a story. I love this story. God, as everyone knows, created the heavens and the earth and everything in them. And as we are now aware, He created them through the use of words. For words, of course, are power. Let it be done, God proclaimed. And it was done. And everything He made was good. Well, God was especially proud and loving of the man and woman He made because He had breathed into them a part of Himself, His ruach. But not surprisingly, the devil was jealous and angry, so one day when God was enjoying man and woman, the devil casually happened to walk by. He sauntered up to God and asked Him what He liked so much about His creatures. And when God opened His mouth to speak, the devil craftily put a bond upon His tongue so that He could not speak. God could not talk. And since God's creative power was in His words, the devil had bound that power. So the devil laughed and laughed and laughed and quite had his way with the man and the woman. Well, as some eons went by, the devil came back to mock God. He couldn't resist, such as his nature. He mocked and mocked. He scoffed at the silent God and taunted this helpless God. But God responded to all this by holding up one finger. One? Asked the devil. Are you trying to tell me that you want to say just one word? Is that it? And God nodded, pleading with His soft eyes and urgent hands. The confident devil thought to himself, I don't suppose that even God could do very much harm with one word. So, the devil removed the bond from God's tongue. God spoke His one word in a whisper. He spoke it for man and woman, and it brought them great joy. It was the joy of the gospel. It was a word that gathered up all the love, forgiveness, and creativity God had been storing in His heart during the time of His silence. The word He spoke was Jesus. The heart and soul of our religion is not the book. It is Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus. To know Jesus. To love Him and to follow Him. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Ms. Beckers would always tell me, always, Father, the same. Go back to the source. She would share with me. Yes, the source, the Bible. Miss Beckers, you like the Bible? No, Jesus. Go back to Jesus. And there are three truths in the story of Jesus. The three truths. Number one, the mystery of the incarnation. God becoming a human being. I'd like to be sensitive to that. God becoming a human being. Not simply man, but a human being. A human being like us. In English, it's very important these days in the 21st century to be gender fair. Maging tao. Naging tao ang Diyos. The mystery of God taking on human flesh. The fleshed God. That's the first mystery. And that is what we celebrate these days. God becoming a human being like us in all things. And please take note, sometimes I don't even add except the doing of sin. Why? Because sin is never part of the original plan of God. Because it was a virus that infected us. When man and woman chose the creature more than the creator. It's never part of the design. The second mystery is His public ministry of 3 years. That is what you learn. The public ministry focused on the vision of Jesus. The vision of Jesus, which is the kingdom of God. Which I taught my students in Christian morality. The kingdom of God expressed through His words and deeds. That He becomes the very technology of the kingdom of God. His words being His parables and prayers. and his deeds being his miracles and meals. Parables, prayers, words, miracles and meals, deeds. That is the structure of revelation. By means of words and deeds, God reveals himself to us. And Jesus expressed power, the dynamis of his ministry. For 3 years, his life was a constant proclamation through words and deeds. A total self-donation to the mission. Never getting tired. Why? Because his full obsession was pleasing the Father. Third mystery is the Passover mystery, known as the Paschal mystery, which was the heart and soul of his life. The heart and soul of his life. The climax of the Jesus story is his Passover. His passion, death, and resurrection. Translate, ang Pasko. Pasko means from the word Pesak, and Pesak means from the Passover, ang pagtawid ni Jesus mula sa pagpapakasakit, pagkamatay, tungo sa muling pagkabuhay. Those are the pivotal days of our salvation. And everything from incarnation to public ministry lead us to the Paschal mystery as we gaze on the cross, crucified. And it is there that the church is born. When was the church born? You say Pentecost? Yes, it's right. But this is my teaching, which is the teaching of the church. We were born from the Paschal mystery. We were born on Good Friday when they're on the side of Christ, according to the fathers of the church. They're flooded blood and water, symbols of the two sacraments, baptism and Eucharist. There, from the side of Christ, the church was born. When was the church born? When Jesus rose from the dead. When Jesus, appearing to Magdalene, to the apostles, said, Go tell the brothers that I'm alive. That is church. Church is mission, and mission is church. Not church has missions. No, church is mission. The very reason why the church exists is because it is mission. When was the church born? Take note, Ascension and Pentecost are stories drawn from the resurrection. Why? Because there are two versions of Pentecost. One in John, one in the Luke Acts. In Luke Acts, 50 days after the resurrection. Pentecost. Tama? But in John, Jesus breathed into them. Receive the Holy Spirit. In other words, Pentecost, from the point of view of the evangelist John, is at the moment of the risen Jesus, breathing the Ruach, the Pneuma. Different ways to speak of one mystery. Take note, catechists, this is our commitment. We share the story. We share it. That is our commitment. Wherever we are found, every opportunity given to you must be a chance for you to speak about Jesus. Even inside the gym. Mama, bayad po o. Mama, sobra po yung sinukli nyo. Pasa nga yung bayad.
Thank you po.
Oy, bababa ka na. Magbayad ka muna. Yung pag-alali mo sa matanda. yung tinatawag na paggalak sa matanda. Paunahin mo na ang matatanda, yung mga kababaihan. Oh, ladies first. Age before beauty. What does that mean? What does that mean? Our values speak of the risen Jesus. The way we move, the way we talk. This is what we call the movement of values. But the Roach is very strong at that. Values in religious education. Because values are not taught, they are taught. And the first teacher of values must be the catechist in the Catholic school. Iba ang galaw ng katekista sa loob ng faculty room. Iba. Why? Because he or she radiates the joy of Jesus. But you cannot give what you do not have. First challenge. Do not forget your times of prayer in the chapel. Huwag niyong gawing appendix yun. Kung busy kayo, the more busy you must be seeking the face of Christ. Challenge, therefore. What is the challenge for us? The challenge for men and women of character. Character is the imprint received by the Christian in the three sacraments. What are they? Baptism, confirmation, and orders. Character. That imprint, that mark. May markadong Kristo ka na. Character is the distinguishing mark of the Christian. That is why it is important, character. That is why, you know, there is a sacrament, dear catechist, that needs more stoking in terms of design. And what is that? The sacrament of confirmation. Mahina pa tayo dyan. Dagdag ko, mahina pa nga tayo sa binyag eh. Our catechesis in baptism is always hurried up. It's only 15, 30 minutes before baptism and people hardly listen. In the United States, I know there are 5 to 6 sessions before baptism is administered. Tama?
Yes.
Why? Strong catechesis. Why? Because we're serious about honing in on the sacramental import of catechesis. But for us who work in Catholic schools, please strengthen the three sacraments that form character. Penance and reconciliation, the First Holy Communion, and number 2, confirmation in junior high school, in the K-12 program. And please take note, character must be emphasized. Bishop Broderick Pabilio was the one who suggested to me something good. He said, alam mo Jerry, a suggestion ko, which I share with you, suggestion ko, all confirmants should write a letter to the bishop who will ordain them, petitioning that they be confirmed and provide reasons why they want to be confirmed. Bawat isa susulat at wag mong i-coach. That should be a fruit of effective catechesis. And that letter should be sent to the bishop. After that, number 2, sabi niya, after confirmation, the rest of the year after confirmation should be what we call mystagogical catechesis. Catechesis after the sacramental encounter, which is very important. Why? Because you strengthen adult commitment, adult formation. What does that mean? Well, number 1, sabi niya, suggestion ko, Jerry, ask every confirmant to choose a patron saint. He or she needs to research. And he or she should choose a patron saint which is very much different from him or her in terms of character. And that will be his or her second name. So that during confirmation itself, You have the name of the confirmand here,
Hindi na ngayon.
and then the name of the patron saint here. And that becomes their companion on the road towards adulthood. Ganda, di ba?
Yes.
In other words, go back once again to the power of the saints, to the legacy of saints. What are saints for? But challenge us to live virtuous life. What else? Number 3, another letter before the year ends to the bishop on how they have grown in Christian maturity. A suggestion, the bishop must answer. Not each letter. A letter to every class who underwent confirmation.
Okay. Per batch.
Per batch.
Then they will read that.
When I was president of Pasig Catholic College and the parochial schools, in the 3 schools I manage, I changed the sectioning. Because it's local church, it's diocesan school eh. So ang sectioning, imbis na second year St. Martha, second year St. Jerome, binago ko, second year Diocese of Pasig, second year Diocese of Tagum. Pag 4th year na, Archdiocese of Cagayan de Oro. And every class must write the diocesan bishop and praying for the needs of that particular church. What does that mean? Sense. But going back once again, confirmation is important. Why? Because we need to stoke the power of the sacrament. Because it is this confirmand who will make a commitment to Jesus. I don't even tell their students, if you don't want to be confirmed, don't push yourself. It's your choice, not mine. And I don't want to pressure you. At the end of the day, you ask them whether they are committed to Jesus or not. Next is that the director or the school head, whether a priest or a sister or a lay, must meet continuously with the confirmation class. Why? Because iba ang galaw sa Catholic school. Iba ang galaw. At pag-aralin natin mabuti, ha? Na hindi parang pinagkakakitaan ng sakramento. Mag-first communion lang, ang mahal na. You don't, that's why you send signals to people, magkano bang magpabinyag? Eh, libre naman ang grasya. That is why the move towards from arancel to tithing must be studied well. But it cannot be done overnight. After all, we have been in that kind of economic program for the past more than 400 years. But significant, therefore, is this: focus on formation. And therefore, the 3 departments of a Catholic school, namely religious education, campus ministry, and extension program, must work closely together to engage themselves, especially in the confirmation class. Character. Let me give you a poem which I shared, which is a fruit of my working in Pondo ng Pinoy Catechesis. Plant a thought, reap an act. Plant an act, reap a habit. Plant a habit, reap a virtue. Plant a virtue, reap a character. Plant a character, reap a destiny. Ulit ha? Plant a thought, reap an act. Plant an act, reap a habit. Plant a habit, reap a virtue. Plant a virtue, reap a character. Plant a character, reap a destiny. What does that mean? The consciousness raising, the growth patterns are these. Take note, moral life is process. Moral life is process. Take note, going back to scriptures, what did they say? Jesus grew in wisdom, age, and grace before God and people. Who were his teachers? Joseph and Mary. Joseph taught him the value of work, and Mary taught him the ways of the Torah. What does that mean? Parenting can never be compromised because parents are the first
Catechist.
Thus, the challenge for Catholic schools and even in public schools is this: parenting sessions on values. Can Mother of Life start what we call school for parents? Answer is yes. Some of you are parents yourself. And everything begins with little things. Alam niyo, sabi nga, my father who is 92 in January, and my mother who is 91 and she has dementia. No, my dad requested something. Sabi niya, anak ko na may kailangang busy. Opo, daddy. May pakiusap lang ako sa ang inang mo. Sabi ko, ano po yun? Pwede ba araw-araw sumawag ka man lamang kahit 5 minutes para alam namin kung nasasaan ka? Ganun po. O sige po. Kasi nag-aalala kami kung nasasaan ka. So sabi ko, o sige po. Gagawin ko po. Hindi ko naman nagagawa. Ako'y nag-iisang anak. Bilang nag-iisang anak, talaga namang responsibilidad ko. Okay, so ano ang ginawa ko ay ganito. Yung aking 2 pinsan na may 4 na anak, 3 babae, 1 lalaki, nag-breakfast, pamakailan lang, 2 days ago. After Mass, sabi ko, hali kayo, you have breakfast with me because they live in Bel Air, but they are both doctors in Cebu. But they had their Christmas celebration here, the family. So when they were sharing, and then sabi nila sa akin, alam mo, Monsi, talaga palang iba ang maging magulang, ano? Sabi ko, opo, bakit? Kasi, alam mo, lagi ka nag-aalala sa 4 na iyan. Alam mo, makatawag man lang ang bawat isa araw-araw sa akin, kampante na ako. Sabi ko talaga, yung nararamdaman mo yon? Oo talagang masaya na ako. Mag-text man lang, tumawag man lang. Kasi malaking bagay sa amin. Di simula nun. Kahapon. Tumawag na ako. I think the Lord reminded me. Once a parent, always a parent. Tama?
Yes.
So, ang ibig ko sabihin ay, maliliit na bagay means something. Ano mang magaling kahit maliit, basta't malimit, patungong langit. Ano yun?
Pondo ng Pinoy.
Pondo ng Pinoy, Cardinal Dempsey. Ano mang magaling kahit maliit, basta't
malimit, ay patungong langit.
Hindi 25 yon. Yun ay paggawa ng butil-butil ng kabutihan.
Little things.
Little things matter because great things come from small things. Because the ways of God always begin with small things. Thus, you cannot belittle what you teach your students. Little things, which means the catechist has an eye for detail. Because the devil is in the detail. Ulitin ko, the devil is in the detail. Hindi pwede sasabi, first Friday bukas, okay, ready na naman. Pwede na yan. Ay, mali yun. Isa-isahin mo uli. Ayusin mo uli. Why? Because every liturgical act must inspire people to become more Christ-like. The catechist, therefore, to become Christ-like, and his or her student must be challenged to live virtues. Yes, I say virtues. And what are virtues? Good operative habit. An action done with regularity connected to the goodness of God. 7 virtues: justice, temperance, prudence, fortitude, and faith, hope, and love.
Love.
Justice, temperance, prudence, fortitude, faith, hope, and
Love.
love. And the greatness of this is love. And love is the virtus virtutum. Virtus virtutum, the synthesis of all virtues. St. Augustine says it well. Love and do what you wish.
Yeah.
Because love is the virtue of virtues. What does that mean? Love is the power that makes all things possible. Teresa de Child Jesus is a doctor of the science of mystical love. Love. Therefore, the essence of formation is what? Love. It should become more?
Love.
Love. Alam mo, hanga talaga ako sa mga pare, mga katikista, mga madre na assign talaga sa mga peripheries. Yung mga estudyante ko sa Zamboanga, Sibugay, Capuchinyon, sabi niya, Monsi, sa 7 bundok, dadaanan ko. Tapos magmimisa ako. Pagdating ko doon, yun lang yung mga tao nandun, titipon yung mga bebel. Habang nagmimisa ako, may nalaglag na sawa. Ano ginawa niyo? Takbuhan ng mga tao. Ikaw, Franciscano ko eh. Pinausap ko yung ahas. Sige, lakad ka na. Huwag ka na lang magsimba sa tabi. Hindi ka tinuklaw? Hindi. Kasi naman ang ahas, hindi ka tutuklawin kapag hindi mo tinitreten. So, nagkatugan lang, umalis lang. Sabi mo, kayo, doon ka na lang kayo. Lakad na, lakad na. Lumakad naman. Eh, ano nangyayari sa'yo? Nanginginig ang mga tuhod ko sa mga oras na yun. Sabi ko, I am so proud of you. The SBDs in the Diocese of Ipil are in, my God, they're in the islands. And they would tell me beautiful stories. You know, for the past 22 years, I have been teaching at the Divine Word Seminary, and their stories really warm the heart. And you know how powerful that is. Why? Because they would tell me, Monsi, I taught the BEC what you taught us in morals. Talaga? Ano yun? Nakalimutan ko na. Bastos ka. Hindi, naalala ko yung conscience, lalo-lalo yung schema mo. Tuwang-tuwa talaga ako. Kasi ang dali-daling ibaba. Sabi niyang ganon. O sabi ko, di nakakatuwa naman. You know, yun ang katikis eh. You echo. Di ba, alingaw-ngaw?
Echo.
Kayo, nagtuturo kayo, di ba? Umaalingaw nga. Matambuli. Ano matambuli?
Gen 2.
Gen 2? Asan na yung mga Gen 2?
Frida.
Ito. Frida.
May Gen 1?
Yes.
Asan Gen 1? Kayo nga kayo yung Gen 1.
Genuine.
Hiwa-hiwalay kayo. Gen 1. Palakpakan naman natin Gen 1. Eh, ako ng Gen 50. Tayo ang Gen 50. Tayo. Lambutin. Yan ang masisipag na Gen 50. Talagang lagi, taon-taon, nagkakaroling yan sa parokya. Siyempre, kapunan. Second collection. Tapos nung kumanta pa sila, nakalimutan mag-second collection. Eh, sabi ko, naku, malakas pa, mga capital letters pa si Dr. Karik, hindi nag-second collection. Sa text. Sabi ko, sorry, ito nangyari. Nakalimutan yata. Hindi yata alam ng mga katikista yan. So, nung misa na, no, there should be a second collection. Sino mag-misa itong Friday nito? Si Father Jenny, diwa ho. Ang kaibigan niya ng Mother of Light. Father Jenny, i-build up mo. Second collection. Dala-dala ko second collection, ha? Hindi ako makapasok dito pag wala yung second generation. Malaki yung pinaghuhugutan ng mga mother of life.
Uh-oh.
Yan, wala na naman ako. Take note, the three movements of formation, what are they? Knowing, doing, being. Tama?
Yes.
Knowing, doing, being. Where is that found? What document?
NCDP.
CFC. NCDP at saka CFC. Nandiyan yan.
General Directory of Catechesis, GDC. Oo, nakinopya na NCDP. Tinuro sa inyo. Yan, tama. Maingay ka mo. Tama yun, tama yun. Take note ha, three areas of formation. Knowing, doing, being. Okay. First challenge, character. Character. Second circle, Centiricum Ecclesia. We are part of a bigger whole. We are initiated into the mysteries of faith in the community founded by Jesus. We are the icon of the Trinity, in the words of Bruno Forte. You know him, right? You know Avery Dallas. The models of the church. Yeah. Excited. Sacrament, institution, herald, servant. Natuturo na, Father Kroger. Tama? Tama? But the CFC, the Catechism for Filipino Catholics, presents to us these three images of the church in Christian morality. In Christian morals, the church is shaper of moral character. That's the first. Shaper of moral character. Shaper of moral character. Number two, that the church is bearer of moral tradition. The bearer of moral tradition. And number three, the community of moral deliberation. Now, that is found in the Catechism for Filipino Catholics. You know, the main architect of the CFC is Father Roach.
Yes.
You know that, right?
Yes.
So Father Roach was able to dialogue with theologians. And the source of this came from the theologians in moral theology, in particular, Father Richard Gula, SS. This is the source. I repeat, the three images of the church, and I will discuss them briefly. One, the church is shaper of moral character. Number two, bearer of moral tradition. And number three, community of moral deliberation. It's a different form of understanding church as mystery, as communion in mission. Number one, shaper of moral character. She is teacher. She is a formator. She instills in us the values of the gospel. Shapes character. Number two, bearer of moral tradition. We have 2,000 years of intellectual tradition. In moral theology, we briefly look and walk with the church. I like that, walking in the church. Theologians such as Bernard Herring to Karl Peschke are good companions in moral life, in moral theology, rather. Father Peschke. And significant is that when in the bearer of moral tradition, you have the shifts in terms of how the church sees the moral tradition. From the biblical times to the fathers of the church, to the scholastics, to people like St. Alphonsus Liguri, and of course the Second Vatican Council. You know, something very powerful in Vatican II is that Blessed Paul VI, whom I heard might be enrolled in the list of canonized saints, is the one who requested that a separate document on church in the world be written. When he became Pope, he tasked Bernard Herring to draft it. That is why we have Gaudium et Spes. The bearer of moral tradition. And number 3, community of moral deliberation. Deliberation, why? Because we use a methodology that has been cementing generations, and that is that the methodology of Catholic social teachings. See, reflect, and act. See, judge, act. We deliberate. We deliberate where? In what we call BECs. We deliberate where? In parishes. We are able to read the signs of the times. I'll talk about that later in terms of our commitment to country. Thus, challenge is to form men and women who have a great love for the church. Who have a great love for the church. To have a healthy deference to the church. Respect for the teaching authority of the church. Especially the teachings of the Holy Father, Pope Francis, and the bishops in communion with him. You know, for us in moral theology is a very controversial discussion these days, especially in Amoris Laetitia in chapter 3. I hope to convene, and I mentioned this to the Cardinal. Your Eminence, please convene a meeting of moral theology professors. Let us discuss these dubias raised by cardinals and theologians. But in spite of that, I think we have to have, the starting point is healthy respect. That the communion of the church is also hierarchical. Also with that, let us distinguish between theology and catechesis. That's important. That's found in NCDP.
Yes.
Tama?
Yes.
Why? And I say it again and again. What must be taught in basic education, K-12, up to college, must be doing catechesis, not theologizing. Because good catechesis is rooted in good theology. It must not be a place by which we toy the minds of young people. The challenge in schools is to catechize, not to theologize, so that the more noble thing these days is to disagree with the church. No. I'll give an example, What are the precepts of the church? Kasama ba ito sa ating modules? Precepts of the church. We know the 10 Commandments.
Participate Sunday masses and holidays of obligation.
We have 7 virtues. The 5 precepts of the church are what? Number 1, attend Mass on Sundays and holidays of obligation. What are the holidays of obligation in the Philippines? Number 1, December 8. Number 2, January 1. Number 3, December 25. Number 4, all Sundays.
All Sundays.
Are holidays of obligation. That is why I always say to my parishioners, don't say anticipated Mass.
It's a Mass.
Yung Sabado, it is Sunday Mass on a Saturday. Tama?
Yes.
Because all solemnities begin with evening prayer 1 of the previous day after 4 o'clock. So that's number 1. Number 2, kaya nga this year naglabas si Cardinal. Sabi niya, yung sumimba ng linggo, December 24, nakasimba na rin ng December 25. Tama? Yes. Yung sumimba ngayon, 31 ng linggo, nakasimba na rin ng January 1. Isang misa, 2 holidays of obligation. Tawag ko doon, pakyawan. Kami naman mga parish priest nalulungkot. Bakit? Lulungkot kasi isang kolekta lang. sumipa na ng linggo, hindi na sisipayin ng Lunes. Ako naman sa parish ko, alam mo, maganda rin sumisimba ng Lunes. Pero ano nakakatuwa, alam mo, akala ko kukunti na. You know, I have 5 chapels in the parish. The five chapels. I have the oldest church in Makati, 1620, founded by the Jesuits. When the Jesuits were suppressed in 1700s, the Dominicans took over. After the Dominicans, diocesan na. 400-year-old church. It was never destroyed. Never destroyed by the revolution, never destroyed by the takeover of the Dutch temporarily. The roof was burned. And there is the image of Our Lady, the Virgen de la Rosa, brought here by the Jesuits in 1718. Mag 300 years next year, kaya jubilee sa amin. But the parish has grown. The territory is Poblacion, Makati, Valenzuela to Olympia. It covers from Rockwell, Power Plant Mall, Social, to Ayala Circuit. Ganun kalaki. Social. We have 2 mall chapels, namely Sacred Heart Chapel of Rockwell. You visit there, it is now a very big chapel. It will be blessed by Cardinal Chito on January 5. It can now accommodate more than 1,000 on the 5th and the 6th floor. And number 2, Century Mall Chapel, named after Padre Pio of Pietrelcina. I requested that he be the patron to the Cardinal. And it was approved. And I'm requesting the Franciscan Capuchins to help me. But it has grown. And my question is this: how do we build a community? That's important. What does that mean? Number 1, good liturgies. Number 2, good customer service.
Yes.
What does that mean? Welcoming. Tama?
Yes.
Number 3, good preaching. Why? Because people are hungry for the word. They want more. It's only once a week. So that we need priests who can celebrate Mass with great fervor. Tapatan ang pagkauhaw at pagkagutom ng mga kapanalig ng magagandang liturhiya. Because good celebrations build the faith, bad celebrations diminish the faith. That's number 1. Number 2, second precept, you shall confess your sins at least once a year. Tama?
Yes.
Nasabi ko sa mga parishioners, ang dami nangungumunyon, ba't kukunti ng umpisal? Pag-aralang mabuti. Pero sa amin, alam mo sister, ang confessional box may laman ng pare. Lagi may laman. Sabi ko sa mga kapatid na pare, gusto ko lagi may laman yan. May laman pare yan. Bakit? Iba talaga kapag nagpapakumpisal sa parokya. Tama? Yung alam mo, well, you know, there are 2, because you know, I teach hearing of confessions in San Carlos and in Pangasinan. Sabi ko, there are 2 priestly acts that you can perform when you become priest. Number 1, celebrate Mass. Number 2, absolve the sins. Because the rest can be done by lay. Huwag nyo na masyado pakialaman ng pera. Kaya na yung paghawakan ng Finance Council. Yung pag-aayos ng bulaklak, huwag mo na pakialaman, Father. Mother Butler na yan. Yung pagdalo sa may sakit, pagbigay ng komunyon, ang gawin mo na lang, mag-anoin ka na may sakit. Bakit? That is very priestly. Because the catechist cannot do that for you. Tama?
Yes. Communion.
So going to confession is important. Okay. Second yun. Number 3. You shall receive your Creator humbly in Holy Communion, at least during the Easter season. Okay, that's the third precept, huh? Receive your Creator in Holy Communion at least during the Easter season. Number 4, keep holy the holy days of obligation. Okay, nasabi na natin yon. Number 4, you shall observe the prescribed days of fasting and abstinence. Okay. Kailan ang fasting? Ash Wednesday. Kailan ang Ash Wednesday this year?
February 14. Valentine.
Fasting yon, February 14.
Accepted ang senior.
Paano kaya i-homily natin yon, Father Kroger? Yung February 14 na yan na holy, day of fasting. Oh, Diyos ko, marami sa nakasimangot sigurong magkasintahan. Ang mga tawag ngayon, binabalik ko sa akin mga homilies, magkasintahan. Di ba maganda, no? Mag-sweetheart. Ngayon, mga salitang
Jowa.
jowa. Oh, next. Ano yung pinakalima? Ito, paborito ko. The faithful have the duty of providing for the material needs of the church, each according to his ability. In other words, maglagay ng pera sa kolekta.
According to his ability.
5th precept of the church, we contribute as stewards. Time, talent,
Treasure.
Kaya alam nyo, sineshare ko sa mga kapatid na pare sa Vicariate, nag-meeting kami. Alam nyo, sa St. Peter and Paul, pagkatapos ng dasal, prayer of the faithful, sabihin ko, upo na sila. Upo rin ang pare, hindi agad mag-offertory, no. Upo ako, mangolekta muna. Sige, suyurin yan. Mag-awit muna ng isang awit. Ganon, ganon. At yung mga naglalagay, tinitingnan ko. Kaya lang yung mga madre, mga nakaganon lang. Sabi ko si Superiora na St. Paul, sister, maglagay din kayo. Yun ang community ninyo. Ibig sabihin, maganda. Sabi ba naman sa akin ng madre, alam mo, Father, kung kami maglalagay, maglagay ka rin.
Nabalikan mo sa amin ng pare.
Paano naman yun, sister? 4 ang misa ko. Di 4 na beses ka rin maglagay. Ibig sabihin, tatayo ako sa chasuble, tapos kukuha ako ng water. Maganda nga yun, ano? Maglagay ko by example. Sige, gagawin ko yun sa January 1. Oh, tandaan nyo. Nalumbat pa. Kasi alam mo ang mga Pilipino, hindi sanay magbigay sa simbahan. Magbubukas, nandyan na yung basket, titingin sa malayo. Sabi, pero ang collectors namin matatanda ha, ang tawag namin doon, 3-in-1. Alam mo yung 3-in-1? Members sila ng apostolada, ng greeters, at confradia. Yan ang matatanda. Pag nangongolekta yan. Ganon.
Mahinay.
Pag hindi nagbibigay, anak,
Balik-balik.
dagdagan mo. Ganon nila. Sabi mo, Senyor, okay mo ba yun na sasabihan ko? Kilala ko naman, oo. Konsensya mo, huwag kang lalakad ang hindi nagbibigay mo. Ang pinakakuripod dyan, mga katikristan. Hindi na ako makakauwi ng buhay dito. Maglagay. Nagagano, no? Lalagay ka. Alam mo, yung nasabi, naglalagay. Oo. Palagay yun. Hindi ko naman matawaran ang pagbibigay ng mga tao sa parokya ko. Pero maganda yun, ha? Suggestion yun. Mismo ikaw maglalagay. Pare, no? Lalagay mo na lang, by example. Pagkatapos, ko pa, may ritual ako dyan. Kaya, tumatagtag eh. Tapos mag-o-offertory na, nakolekta na, galing sa isang malaking basket. Tapos magpo-procession. So, tatanggapin ko yung alay, collection, tapos yung tinapay at alak. Diba, yun, magtana ka, blessed are you, Lord. Ganon. Tapos, blessed are you. Tapos, insenso. Tapos sa basket, pinakikita ko. Ini-insenso ha. Nasabi ko sa Diyos, dumami ka. Dumami. At ang insenso ko, kabilog. Uy, fourfold, nagadagdagan. God cannot be outdone in generosity. Amen? Alam niyo na, sa misa ng nunsyo, mamaya. Dito rin kaya sa Mother of Life, mamimisa ko tuwing Huwebes.
Yes.
Di ba?
Yes.
May ritual sila. O, collection. Pinagmamastan ko, ano naman inuhulog dito?
Yes.
Araw-araw, kolekta yung mga yan.
Yes.
Parang secret bag collection sa Legion of Mary. Pag tinignan mo na lang, magkano kayo nakakolekta? Nasasanay, di ba? Uy, turuan ninyong mga batang magbigay sa collection. Para matuto sila magbahagi ng yaman nila sa simbahan. Tama?
Tama.
Very good. Yan, wala na pati. Next. Third and last. Okay. Third and last. Third circle. Love for country. Especially the poor and the vulnerable. A few years back, there was a beautiful pastoral letter written by the bishops, which was quoted by Pope Francis in Laudato Si, which is entitled, "What is Happening to Our Beautiful Land?" It may well be one of the most beautiful letters written by the bishops, but not given so much attention by our people. Ano nangyayari sa ating bayang napakaganda? And it is a prophetic document about ecology. It may well be a good question regarding how we Filipinos live and move in this country we call our own. A number of years back, Cardinal Densi told me the story about Singaporeans visiting him at the Residencia in Intramuros and told him, "Your Eminence, your country is so beautiful, it is so rich in natural resources." And the Cardinal said, "Yes, thank you, but we have to tell you something, please don't get offended. Your people do not have a love for country." I'd rather use the statement, Filipinos lack a sense of the common good. Coupled with it is this. Coupled to this is that Filipinos do not have a sense of history. We can easily disown the past and we can easily repeat the past. Let me read to you what I read in one of the editorials at PDI, at the Inquirer, and I quote, "Politics sometimes envelopes our lives as if nothing else matters." Why? Let me add an editorial myself. Because politics in the Philippines is private property. Throughout the year, we were preoccupied with unabated EJKs. The Battle of Marawi, the resurrection of the Marcoses, and PGMA. The relentless efforts to oust VP Leni Robredo and to keep one senator behind bars. Metro Manila's monstrous traffic and its woeful mass transport, especially the MRT. Impeachment threats, talk of a revolutionary government in January, and a one-man rule in 2018. The systematic undermining of our democratic system of checks and balance. The weakening of the Supreme Court. The methodical chipping away of our democracy gained in 1986. Remember EDSA. The list of concerns is endless. And unfortunately, these concerns consumed us to an overwhelming degree. But in spite of that, mga kapatid na Pilipino, we are still one of the top 3 happiest people on earth. But in the end, it could be a panacea not to face the issues. Molians, the challenge for you is to form men and women in the ways of engaged citizenship. The phrase engaged citizenship comes from Antonio Moreno, SJ, former provincial of the Society of Jesus, in his doctoral dissertation. Engaged citizenship. It's no longer the way of mass rally. No longer. It's now the ways of social media where the real battle is happening. Where fake news abounds and trolls threaten democracy. The Second Plenary Council of the Philippines provides a message of liberation for our people. An agenda is set. Number 1, PCP2 says, sin is the root cause of all our social ills. Sin is the root cause of all our social ills. Number 2, the need for conversion. Conversion of Filipinos, inside out. Number 3, a spirituality of social transformation. A spirituality of social transformation inflamed by the social teachings of the church. If there is one thing that Mother of Love should do more, it is this agenda. I gave you a method of social teachings, see, judge, act, right? But the FABC, the Federation of Asian Bishops Conferences, proposes the unpacking of that method into what we call a pastoral spiral. A pastoral spiral which begins with situation. Next, number 2, analysis. Number 3, reflection in faith, principles of social teachings. Number 4, decisions. Number 5, action, implementation, monitoring. Number 6, evaluation. Number 7, prayer and celebration. And number 8, a new situation. Pastoral spiral. That's the unpacking of Catholic social teachings method. It's really the same thing, but the added, you need to emphasize more the analysis part. You need to analyze the situation. You need to analyze it in terms of lights and shadows. But it's not simply looking into the principles only and then you do actual deeds. No, there's something missing eh. You know what is missing? Good management and administration of programs of formation in parishes. Yan ang kulang. And the logistical support in terms of money. You want to teach social teachings, but you don't give us funding. You don't give us instructional materials. You don't even give us merienda.
Yeah, yes.
No, that's part of it. Implementation is coupled with good logistical support, with zealous catechists who will bring down the social teachings of the church in every barrio, BEC, and parish. And the commitment of the hierarchy. So it's not only words, but really commitment, paggastusan. In other words, the diocese has a priority. And the church in the Philippines naman, through the bishops, have identified that integral faith formation or catechesis is the #1 pastoral priority of the church. Therefore, pour the resources there. The pastoral spiral is simply the church biting the bullet And biting the bullet means, put your money where your mouth is. You see, the formation of a social conscience with sensitivity to the issues bring about change, attitudes, attitudinal change. In a very simple way, you know, the Pondo ng Pinoy movement of Cardinal Densi, implemented in various dioceses, is a way to do catechesis. Don't focus on the 25 centavos. It's the formation of conscience, of doing good. Because the fundamental action of conscience is what? Do good, avoid evil. Or love God, love your neighbor. And please, ang tulay sa pagmamahal sa Diyos at pagmamahal sa kapwa ay pagmamahal sa bayan. Ang tulay ng pagmamahal sa Diyos at pagmamahal sa kapwa ay pagmamahal sa inang bayan. The greatest challenge of catechesis today in our country is Catholic social teachings. More of that. More articulation. And if you were to ask me, what should be the 4 semesters of grades 11 and 12? It must be Catholic social teaching. Which is considered the Church's best kept secret. Why? Because our faith is sadly still today privatized. Let me now conclude. Pope Francis in Amoris Laetitia discusses the following principles. And I leave this for your further research and study. Number 1, the principles of inclusion and integration. Inclusion and integration. You know, the church is, Pope Francis is very much into this inclusion and integration. But before inclusion and integration, the second principle is the principle of encounter. Very strong. There are catchphrases Catchphrases. Si Pope John Paul, new evangelization. Do not be afraid. Tama?
Yes.
Ito si John the 23rd, adjournamento. Ito si Pope Francis, laging encounter. Encounter that brings about inclusion, integration. What else? Second set of principles. Discernment. That's the topic, I think, of the next Synod of Bishops. Helping people to discern. Very much Ignatian. Very Ignatian. Discernment. How do we read the signs of the times? How do we help people? In their what? In accompaniment. The word is accompaniment. Catechism, that word is very strong in the vocabulary of Pope Francis. Discernment through accompaniment. Alalay lang. Wala tayong sagot lagi. Kuminsan, tahimik lang eh.
Yeah.
Kuminsan sabihin natin sa bata, ay hindi ko alam, ineng.
Pati mga
Pareho tayo. Huwag kang magbalat kayo na alam mo ang sagot lagi. Pwede mong sabihin, aralin ko muna yan, ha? At medyo kinabahan ako nang tinanong mo yan. Even in the seminary, the theology. Pag sasabihin ko, ay hindi ko alam. Hayaan muna ako magsaliksik. Malalim yan tanong mo. Why? You know, there is a story about Avery Dallas. You know, he became a Jesuit, but before that, you know, the story is that he was a Protestant who turned Catholic. And one thing beautiful about him is that when he was studying theology at the Catholic U, his professors were so impressed with him. Why? Because every class, he would always ask questions. I like students who ask questions because I know what is in their mind. I don't like students who are in solitude. During class, they're always quiet and beholden to the professor. No. Why? Because part of the answer is in the question. Tama?
Yeah.
That's accompaniment. That's dialogue in the classroom. And last phrase is graduality. I'd like to emphasize that because in moral theology, we do a great deal of principles of graduality. That is found in Familiaris Consortio number 34, but now expanded well in Amoris Laetitia. And I do feel that it is rooted in the question of moral life as process. Moral life as process. Okay. 3 circles. What are the 3 circles?
Country.
3 challenges. Men and women of character. Number 2, men and women of the church. And number 3, men and women of conscience. Or social conscience. Let me end with a story, just to lighten your day pa. An atheist was taking a walk through the woods. What majestic trees, what powerful rivers, what beautiful animals, he said to himself. As he continued walking alongside the river, he heard a rustling in the bushes. Turning to look, he saw a 7-foot grizzly charging towards him. He ran as fast as he could up the path. Looking over his shoulder, he saw that the bear was closing in on him. His heart was pumping frantically, and he tried to run even faster. He tripped and fell on the ground. He rolled over to pick himself up, but saw the bear raising his paw to take a swipe at him. At that instant, the atheist cried out, "Oh my God!" Time stopped, the bear froze, the forest was silent. It was then that the bright light shone upon the man, and a voice came out of the sky, saying, "You deny my existence for all of these years, teach others I don't exist, and even credit creation to a cosmic accident. Do you expect me to help you out of this predicament? Am I to count you as a believer?" So the atheist looked directly into the light. It would be hypocritical of me to suddenly ask you to treat me as a Christian, but perhaps could you make the bear a Christian? Very well, said the voice. The light went out and the sounds of the forest resumed. And then the bear lowered his paw, bowed his head and spoke, "Lord, bless this food which I am about to receive, and for which I am truly thankful." Amen. You like it?
Yeah.
O last. Ito sa pari madre to. Sister, so kayo magalit na.
Kakapi sa joke mo, Mons.
Ha?
Kakapi sa joke.
Kapit. Yan. 2 priests were determined to make this a real vacation by not wearing anything that would identify them as clergy. As soon as the plane landed, they headed for a store and bought some really outrageous shorts, shirts, sandals, sunglasses. The next morning, they went to the beach dressed in their tourist garb. They were sitting on beach chairs, enjoying a drink, the sunshine, and the scenery, when a drop-dead, gorgeous blonde came walking straight towards them. They couldn't help but stare. As the blonde passed by, she smiled, and she said, "Good morning, Father." "Good morning, Father," nodding and addressing each of them individually when she passed on by. They were both stunned. How in the world did she know they were priests? So the next day, they went back to the store and bought more outrageous outfits. Then they went once again. The beautiful blonde came toward them and said, "Good morning, Father. Good morning, Father," and started to walk away. One of the priests couldn't stand it any longer. "Just a minute, young lady." "Yes, Father." "How do you know we're priests? How in the world do you know? We're dressed as we are." And she replied, "I am Sister Mary Kathleen. I'm also here on vacation." Molians, have a good time.